welcome back to Hustlin' with Holly. I am back with a solo episode. Basically what that means is we're just gonna chill. We're gonna talk about anything and everything, you know? I got some stuff written down here, kind of, not really. I just wanted to get another episode out and I really missed you guys, so let's get into it. I hope everyone's doing really well right now, because everyone in Washington, at least, probably nationally, but I don't know the details of other states, but everybody in Washington is now officially in the second wave of COVID. What that means is there are new restrictions, stricter restrictions, and basically we're in phase 1 again. So can't sit inside places, can't do anything. I went to a coffee shop today to go get some work done, do a little bit of studying, and as soon as I got in there, I had all my gear on me, backpack, books, laptop, just to see the indoor seating was closed, and that was so very depressing. It just doesn't register with me right now, you know? You walk into an establishment and I just completely forget that everything is closed, and I'm like, oh, I'll just go sit here and do this, and I'm like, oh, nope, because indoor seating does not exist anymore. I miss that. It's funny because if you are a fine dining kind of restaurant, everybody's got those little tents outside of their establishments now. If you go downtown Snohomish. So it's those, I don't know what kind of tents you call them. It's the white tent that you see at weddings that has the weird windows. Well, basically those are everywhere downtown Snohomish. And people set up metal chairs that you see at fancy houses. They're black or silver. And they're really uncomfortable, but they're on every suburban porch. I know that's probably a bad description, but yeah, those weird metal lawn chairs and tables, with the little hole in the center that you put an umbrella in. It's those. Anyway, those are all in the white tents that you see at weddings. And so basically what that means is you can't sit inside unless the inside is outside. If the inside is outside, then you can eat inside, but you cannot be inside. So that's new. So I did eat kind of at a restaurant on Sunday. I went to Fred's Ale House in downtown Snohomish, and we sat in a white tent on those metal lawn chairs, and I had a vegetarian burger. It was really good, but we were right across from the actual restaurant, sitting outside as our new inside. Different times. Anyway, yeah, that was my Sunday, so it's just letting that sink in is just very mind-boggling. Not in a bad or a good way, it's just, I never thought I'd be living in this reality, as I'm sure a lot of people didn't either, so you're like, wait, really? This is happening? That's happening? We're doing this now? It's whoa, it's been weird. All right, yeah, so we're in the second round of COVID. That's where I'm at with that. I actually had a COVID scare myself. Went to school, and one of the other students tested positive for COVID, unfortunately, and so me and my class had to immediately go down to the nearest clinic and get tested. Luckily, none of us tested positive, but we did have to quarantine for 2 weeks. So yesterday was actually my first day back into civilization. So what that means is I quarantined for 2 weeks. I didn't go out, even though I got the negative testing a couple days after getting tested, which was a lot faster. The place that I went to go get the test is really good about turnaround times and stuff like that, but I just tried my best to keep my distance from people and kind of try to be safe because quarantining, but that also meant that I got laid off from work for 2 weeks, so couldn't go to school until November 30th. And this was, I can't remember when, closer to November 15th or something. I don't know. I'm not going to count. So I wasn't allowed to go to school, and my boss was like, yeah, you're not going to be on the schedule for 2 weeks. So sorry about that. Got to quarantine for 2 weeks. And school, obviously you got to quarantine there. So I had a 2-week unpaid vacation. It's very interesting. It wasn't bad, got in all the naps right. I tried to spend it being productive as possible. So I did some reading. I can't really remember everything I did in detail. When you're so productive and you just do a lot of things that you did a lot, but you can't remember in detail what it is you did because you just did that much. Well, it's kind of like that. I did homework, so there's that. I did sleep a good amount. I slept in every day. Yes, I already missed that. It's only been I woke up early this morning and yesterday, so the struggle is in fact real. Just kidding. I liked that part of quarantine was sleeping in. That was great. The going out part was really difficult because I was like, oh, I really miss people. But hey, I'm clear. I'm going back to work on Thursday. What day is it today? All right, I'm going back to work the day after tomorrow. That'll be interesting because we have a bunch of new COVID restrictions at work. In case you didn't know, I work at Mod Pizza, and so we are reevaluating, at least they were when I left, they are reevaluating the way they go about in-house orders, online orders, and so I didn't really get to get trained in that before I left because I had to quarantine. So yeah, I get to go back and see all my coworkers. That'll be exciting. I really miss them. Oh, two things that also happened is everybody went through Thanksgiving, so that was cool. I spent it with my cousins. It was a very low-key event. Not a lot of people. It was really just what I needed. It was a really nice Thanksgiving. The day after, I turned 21. That was interesting. I went and got brunch. I didn't do a whole lot for my birthday, actually, which sounds really depressing, but I was just really burnt out from previous things I'd been doing. I tried to get all my homework done before Thanksgiving because all the deadlines fell on Thanksgiving for some reason. Had to hurry up and get that done. So turned 21 on Friday, did a little bit of Black Friday shopping, came home and did homework, and then I went to bed. But what I want to talk about is the days leading up to turning 21 and then turning 21, but not so much like turning on the day. Everybody was really nice and wished me a lot of happy birthday wishes. So if you're listening to this and you were one of those people, thank you. I really appreciate that. I loved getting that love. It's always really nice to connect with people over social media like that. But anyways, I had a lot of time to think about what this means for me being 21 because that's a pretty significant age to turn. I did a lot of reflection, weirdly. I was just like, wow, because I did leave home at 18. And granted, I did go back at like 19 or 20 when I left the dorms and moved back in with my parents only to move back out. It's going to be 3 years since graduating high school. I've been out for a little bit and I'm just kind of recognizing that. Like I've really had a lot of time to grow and become my own woman. I know I'm not as established and I got a long way to go, but that's just like taking a second to pause and just really let that sink in. It was really interesting. I still have a lot of goals and things that I want to do with my future, especially with like all the creative stuff. If you know me, I like doing photography. I really like doing filmmaking and I'm really trying to flex that muscle. And I love doing this podcast. And people seem to like listening to it. Honestly, I thought I'd be talking to myself most of the time. Even if I had 2 listeners and one of them was my mom, I would still put all the effort that I put into making this podcast because it does take a lot of time. But since we're already talking about you, the listener, let's go into some stats. Hustling with Holly has a lot of listeners from everywhere. So I have listeners in the United States, Germany, Singapore, and India, which is really interesting. Just globally, that's fun. So let's just dive into the United States really quick because that's the highest percentage. So we've got a large amount in Washington, but then I also have listeners from Ohio, California, Oregon, Texas, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Idaho. And I already know who the Idaho people are. So hi, Rick and Michelle. How you doing? Anyway, yeah. Got, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 states. People from 8 states listen. And they're all different like percentages with Washington being the highest. But yeah, the podcast has like 130 listens. I think there's like 30 plus people that listen to this regularly. I don't know, these stats could be wrong. You guys seem to enjoy listening, even if it's not for a long time, if you're just getting bits and pieces or listening in your spare time. I really appreciate it. I really do. It's fun. I actually got asked today what this podcast was about. Like, what's the point? I've been getting asked that a lot. And so I thought I'd take some time to address it. I'm still figuring out that answer, so I hope this one suffices. Basically, this is classified as an entrepreneurial podcast because that was in the drop-down menu for like Apple Podcast. It had like, this is educational, comedy, and the closest thing that I could kind of figure out was entrepreneurial, even though I don't like to refer to myself or anything I do as that. So what that means is what I plan to do with this, there's going to be a lot of interviews in the future, but this podcast will not be solely interviews. What I found is when a podcast just does like interviews with important guests repeatedly, episode after episode, it gets really boring because we like knowledge and learning new information, but when that's just it can get kind of repetitive and, dare I say, boring. So that's why I have solo episodes like this, and I'm going to figure out different episodes. I'm going to try and space out guests as much as I can so that I don't put everyone to sleep. I was on a kind of a knowledge kick for a while, so I would only listen to like business podcasts and stuff that had a lot of knowledge and stuff like that about things like business, real estate, investing. And then after a while, you get really bored because everybody's answers start to kind of sound the same. I would hate for that to happen with this podcast. So I'm just kind of playing it by ear. Some of the interviews I do won't really be serious, you know, they won't be about like, this is what you need to do with your stock. Some of them will just be about life and how things are going, or even, you know, just about life in general, like some of the things they're going through, whether it be employment or their little side business and stuff like that. It won't always be in your face like, you need to know this, you need to level up, you know. Max jokingly talked about the people that listen to Gary Vee all the time, and it's just like work, hustle, 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 never sleep, never stop. I think we've all been through that phase. I think I was in it way too long, but here I am now. Definitely believe in sleep now, but I don't want it to turn into that. If you are familiar with Gary Vaynerchuk, he's great, phenomenal man. He's got some great insight, great information, but a lot of his followers are very much like, work, keep going. And there's just like no end in sight or a pause to kind of really take in life. And that's why I follow him a little bit less. I still listen to him from time to time. I just don't consume as much of his content anymore. That will be the direction that kind of I avoid, because I don't want this podcast to be like that. I want this podcast to be friendly. I hope it makes people feel less lonely. And I know that sounds weird to say, but when I listen to podcasts, I feel less lonely, you know? Not to say that I'm lonely. Wow, that took a dark and depressing turn. I'm so sorry. What I'm trying to say is when you're doing something like cleaning house and you're listening to a podcast, some podcasts make you think or make you feel like a friend is talking to you. You know, when you're like doing homework and your friend is talking about drama or this crazy thing that happened to them, and you're kind of listening passively, like you hear everything that they are saying verbatim, but you're also doing something else, and it's sort of this white noise, but you're still in tune with it. Podcasts are like that for me, and I think they're like that for a lot of people. And it's just interesting because you can get insight from them as well, but I also listen to them for entertainment, you know? There are some, like Reply All talks about weird stuff that happens on the internet. If you know, you know. It's not like bad weird stuff. It's just like why TurboTax is a thing. I know that sounded weird, but see, Reply All talks about weird things on the internet, and it's pretty entertaining. Then I listen to my friend's podcast, which means a couple of my friends have podcasts, and they just started, a couple months ago, and I love listening to their stuff. I love to support my friends in their creative areas and watch them grow. It makes me so happy, and so that's been really cool. But so moral of that tangent was, thank you guys so much for listening. Even if it's like 2 minutes, and then you just never like listen to the podcast again, or you just listen to 30 seconds of every episode. It means a lot. Thank you. I just didn't think as many people would be interested or care. That's been really refreshing and really nice. And I'm going to try to provide quality content. And I just wanted to communicate that to you since you are the listener. And one of the biggest reasons that I do this. All right, moving on. So I guess I'll briefly touch on Max's episode because it's the episode before this one, and I'm kind of sentimental about it, so I'm going to talk about it just briefly. That was interesting. He was Max Mooney. Coffee and Community with Max Mooney was the last episode, and Max kind of breaks down running a business, maintaining it, kind of being successful in the business world. He runs Narrative Coffee Company in downtown Everett. You should go give his episode a listen. It was phenomenal. It was so fun getting together with Max to talk about that and just hearing his perspective and everything he's been through and he continues to do. He literally continues to shock the world, and he's such a pillar in the community, and it's just so great. And the fact that he was willing to come on my podcast, even though it's not a very big podcast per se, was just really nice and refreshing. And I love Max. I've known him for about a couple years now, going into a shop and stuff like that. And he's a really swell and wholesome guy. So I encourage you to go give his episode a listen and here's some interesting things. One of the things that went into that episode was kind of learning how to coordinate with an actual guest and get schedules right, and then doing editing after and kind of creating a social media presence afterwards. That was all very new, especially when it's with another person. So it was a fun experience. One thing I wanted to mention before I forget regarding plans for the future, I did touch upon this already a little bit, but I left out that I want to start bringing on more guests, but I want those guests to be some of the guests or people that you're interested in hearing from. So if anyone has recommendation of guests or topics they would like to hear, DM the official Instagram account for this podcast, which is hustlinwithholly. at hustlinwithholly. So if you go to any of my social medias, there's a link in bio. All of them have a link in bio. Follow the Instagram, and if you have questions, remarks, or just want to say hi, a couple of you already have, and I've really enjoyed conversing with you, so thank you on that. And again, just thanks for supporting. We've been going for 20 minutes. I don't want to make this too long. It was supposed to be just kind of a short, fun little solo episode. I wanted to address some things. I did that. Really wanted to kind of get personal with you guys, and thank you. I'm gonna kind of jump off now. Follow at Hustlin' with Holly on Instagram. It's at HustlinWHolly on Twitter. Instagram, it's spelled out exactly how it sounds and like what the cover art looks like, except for without the apostrophe. But the Twitter has a limited amount of characters, so it's HustlinWHolly, and that's the only like different Addy name. So yeah, follow us on Instagram, Twitter. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have YouTube Premium and you want to listen to it in the background. You can do that. There is no like live feed, so you won't see visuals. You won't see me or the guest yet. I am working on that. That's the purpose of the YouTube channel. So for those of you that actually like to watch and sit and listen and see the people talking and conversing, I am working on that. There's just some technical things that I need to figure out that are kind of difficult. But yeah, screenshot any episode and tag me on Instagram, and I'll highlight it or share it. I love getting feedback, but more importantly, stay well. These are difficult times for everyone, and I'm in constant prayer for everyone. I really hope that everyone is doing okay. I know that this wasn't the best year for a lot of us, but I just hope you're staying safe. I hope your family and your friends are well, and if they're not, I will continue to keep you in my prayers. Let me know personally about any ways that I can support you. Just DM me on Instagram. I hope you have a blessed day, and gonna try and get this out by tomorrow. I'm still learning in my editing skills. I know I'd edit, I'm just trying to get a lot faster at it because it takes quite a long time. All right, I love you guys so much. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh wait, no I won't. I can't see you guys. I don't know why I said that's how I kind of sign off on my YouTube channel. My bad. Okay, I will catch you later. Yep. Yeah, thanks for listening. All right, bye.